seemed to loosen itself from the firmament and advance, threatening upon the earth as if to crush us with its huge fiery weight. The sensation during those moments was terrible.
Yep, mushrooms. Oh, okay, my turn. I feel incapable of describing what I saw. I looked fixedly at the sun, which seemed pale and did not hurt my eyes. Looking like a ball of snow revolving on itself, it suddenly seemed to come down in a zigzag, menacing the earth. Terrified, I ran and hid myself among the people, who were weeping and expecting the end of the world at any moment.
Unquote.
Unquote, yeah.
So
I gotta say, when the sun's crashing into the earth, I'm just gonna go hide in the crowd. That'll save me.
I think so.
Hide under somebody's skirt.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but this kind of gives you an idea of the way, at least in their recollections, words, things, in their recollections, how they remembered what they saw and felt.
Yeah.
So the Catholic Church, as we said, would eventually come to recognize and accept the miracle of the sun. They categorize it as an event of genuine supernatural character. That's evidently how their categorization
Catholic
works.
speak for...
Yep, for miracle. This obviously, though, didn't happen right away.
Yeah, it takes a while with the Catholics. They actually have to look into it for a while.
Yeah, they actually investigate stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. But in 1930, Pope Pius XI would approve the whole thing. What's kind of funny, though, is that in 1950, Pope Pius XII, because it was Pius XI in 30, and then I think Pius XI died in 39, so the 12th came on. So Pius XII, though, in 1950, he actually said that he also saw the miracle of the sun in 1950 while he was, walking around. I can't remember what religious ceremony he was at, but he walked and he was in front of the statue of Our Lady of Lourdes, I believe is how you pronounce that one, when he witnessed it, and he witnessed it 3 days in a row. Which is funny. Like, hey, I want to get on the bandwagon. I want to see it way more than these people do. Like, it just seems a weird thing to 40 years later suddenly claim to start seeing.
Well, Pope Pius XII had a different name, and it was Pope the Overachiever. They called him that.
Did they?
Yeah.
Behind his back?
No, to his face.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the day of the event, though. After everything settled down, everyone seems to have left and gone back to their lives as normal. Sadly for Jacinta and Francisco Marto, they came down with influenza and died in 1919.
A lot of people did right
Spanish
about
flu,
that.
Sure did.
which we've talked about. Lucia Santos would end up devoting the rest of her life to religion. She lived as a sister until her death in 2005, so she lived well into her 90s.
I think she was 97 when she died.
Something like that. Yeah,
ridiculous.
she lived an amazingly long life.
Yeah.
And so that leaves us with a question of, what happened here?
Yeah, did the sun really zigzag?
Did these people really see a miracle on that day in October 1917, or did they not? We're going to look into it, but first, we're going to take a quick break.
All right, folks, the holidays are finally past us. We're all just a little chubbier than we were before. And, of course, we've all got those New Year's resolutions to keep. And it's hard sometimes to ensure you're getting all the nutrition and vitamins and protein you need to make sure your workouts really work for you, which is why there's iFit Nourish, a customized protein drink that's jam-packed with all the essential nutrients you need. iFit Nourish is unlike any other nutritional shake because it allows you to personalize your mix. That's right, you go onto their website, you tell them what you weigh and what your workout's like, and they will design a mix just for you. Gives you the highest quality of fruits, veggies, and protein, plus essential vitamins and minerals. And since iFit Nourish is passionate about their ingredients, there's no artificial flavors, no added colors, no preservatives, and no fillers, ever. iFit Nourish focuses on the basics of human nutrition. So every single ingredient in your formula is included for a reason. And don't worry, all their flavors have been approved by a panel of taste judges and are totally delicious. So, ready to simplify your life? Just go to ifitnourish.com/sideways for a free 14-serving bag of iFit Nourish. Convenient. That's ifitnourish.com/sideways and create your unique mix today.
And we're back, and let's investigate a miracle.
Okay.
All right, so theory time really is going to break down very simply into two theories. It's real or it's not.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much it.
That's really the only two directions this can go.
True.
So first off, let's be honest here and admit that none of us really actually know how deities work.
True.
And it is entirely possible, especially from a believer's perspective, that the Virgin Mary could have the power to alter human senses. So if you follow that train of logic, then it's possible that the sun did not actually move in the sky.
Oh, of course not,
But
yeah.
she made it appear to do that, which would be the equivalent of a heavenly parlor trick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a vision at that point. So
Absolutely. I mean, in that sense, too, it's real that the sun really zigzag and come closer to the Earth. Well, obviously it didn't, because billions of people would have seen that.
correct.
But still, you know, if the Virgin Mary, like you said, can actually make everybody see the same thing, well, that's a miracle.
It's akin to a mass hallucination. You know, you would all be given the same thing, except, of course, not everybody saw it, but maybe it was customized to the level of the believer, and you know, were you worthy of receiving it or not? We honestly can't say that we know the answer to that.
Right.
One of the things that makes it look like not maybe so much is we've talked about this a little bit, is that there's the photos and it looks like a bright sunny day. Problem is with the photos is we don't know when they were taken. I always presumed at the beginning that those were taken before the miracle. But we don't actually know if those photos weren't taken after the miracle had taken place. So that might explain why it's not wet, why people
True.
are kneeling on the ground, because the ground is dried, they've dried, the sun has come out and is super bright.
Well,
Maybe it happened, the photos were taken afterwards.
or they could have been taken long afterwards, because I mean, this didn't become a big story until after, and that's when probably reporters and photographers started going up there.
Well, they were all there before.
Were there actually reporters
Yeah.
there on that day? I mean,
Yeah, because word had spread across the country, across Portugal, so people came from all over the country. That's how we got to this somewhere between 10 to 100,000 visitors, and part of those guys were part of the press. They also might be part of the problem, and they're the ones who are spreading the rumors of the size of the event. So that's why I say, for all I know, there was 1,000 people there. I don't know, but there were reporters there who gave first-hand account reports.
there was a decent little crowd. I have no doubt it was exaggerated. But
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, so that's really what I have here. I don't know if you guys have any more to add to what could make it have actually been a real event.
Well, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's hard to argue this, right? Because we don't have proof. Clearly, the Catholic Church feels their proof is strong enough because they do. I mean,
Yeah.
Joe was saying they really do actually investigate and actually try to find proof of these things, and from multiple sources. But really, when it comes down to it, it's real. Just means, hey, take on faith that this deity did this thing, right? So it's much easier to say, here's all of the reasons we think it's fake, but it could be real if you believe in that sort of thing.
And I read, there's one site, I know I shared it with you guys, I at first thought it was on the side of this whole thing was fake, and it turned out, I very quickly learned, it was a debunking of the debunking of the story.
Yeah,
and it
I read
actually,
that one, yeah.
and it had a whole lot of stuff of, information from the Bible and from scriptures to prove, to counteract the negative claims that were made. And the problem, I would say, but the difficulty is, of course, how do you say that that's not right? Because I don't know.
Right.
So that's
why this isn't interesting, right? Is because I know we're about to talk about, here's all the reasons we think
it's not real.
It's not real. But
Oh.
yeah, there are plenty of people out there who have, evidence or their version of evidence or whatever.
It's a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
it's
that's what miracles are.
Yes.
And yeah, exactly. And so, like I say, just the mere fact that all these people went there expecting to see it, they were, wanting to see it, and they saw it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Like you say. But as for the other, as not real, I am not about to disagree with the Vatican. So you guys are on your own. For this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, from here on out, we're solo without Joe. So.
I think it's just you, because I also would like not to get killed by the Vatican.
Yeah.
Fine, you two. I'll finish this one on my own. Go
Okay.
ahead and leave.
Bye.
Okay. Not really. Okay, well, let's go on to the second theory, though, which is that it did not actually happen.
You fool! You killed us all!
First and foremost, I think we all know that the sun does not normally move erratically through the sky. And as Joe said earlier, nobody else on the planet or even the surrounding countryside reported seeing the sun fly all over.
A lot of people would have noticed, probably.
Yeah, I would think that it would be pretty obvious. So that is an immediate strike against the story.
Sure.
If you remember, I talked about supposedly there was a big rainstorm right before and how it ended just before the miracle. Well, I actually was able to pull historical rainfall records from the area. Turns out in 1917, in that area of Portugal, they got a total of 33 millimeters, which is about 1.5 inches of rain that month. And the month before, it was only 9 millimeters, or 0.35 of an inch. So the accountings say the ground was sodden from all of the rain that fell. Well, that seems to me like that would take a lot more rain than what's listed here. And this is the rains over the course of a month.
I don't know. I mean, technically, yes, course of a month. It could have all been
All in one day.
rainy day. Fair. And granted, we live in a pretty rainy place, and, 1.5 inches of rain doesn't sound like a ton, but you remember like the first rain after a big drought, how the ground just doesn't soak anything up. It's just kind of like sits on top of it for a little bit. I mean, it's possible if it was a kind of a droughty time, but I agree. I think it's silly.
I just think the accounts of this torrential rainstorm might be a bit overblown.
Well, here's another thing to think about is if they don't get a lot of rain there, 1 inch of rain or even 1/2 inch of rain
That's a
in one
miracle.
day,
in a single go.
that seems like a lot, right?
True.
But to us, it seems like nothing.
True.
So that's possible too.
Actually, yeah, even for us, an 1.5 inches in a day is a substantial amount, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
I
is.
think so
We just
too.
got a whole bunch of it today, and it came down in just droves.
Oh, yeah, we did. But, yeah.
So let's keep talking. We've talked about the photos a couple of times. I do want to point out one thing to everybody, which is when you look up the miracle of the sun online, you will find a photo out there that was found in the 1950s that is taken on the day of the miracle of the sun. At least it says it was taken on the day of the miracle of the sun. And the sun looks weird. It almost looks like somebody's put a twirl blur filter on the sun. It's kind of turns on itself.
Think a little Photoshopping might have got done?
No, it's actually not of that day. It is of a solar eclipse. So it is a weird light effect caused by the solar eclipse that happened many years later. So if you see that, and like I kept seeing the same one come up where somebody, I love this when people get into MS Paint or whatever, and they draw the arrow and then it's in red and the text is in red on top of it. Kept seeing
big
the
circle.
same one over and over and over, but it is not from that time. So I would just want to have you understand that from the outset.
Well, you'll be happy to know that MS Paint no longer exists. So
Yes, I am
thank
actually
God.
very happy about that. So here's another explanation of why this might not be real and what people saw. This is a good explanation of what people saw, which, putting it very simply, is staring at the sun is bad for you, and you shouldn't do it. We've all looked at the sun momentarily by accident, and you get that burned after image of the sun on your retinas, and then you look around and that spot moves around.
Oh, yeah.
So it is entirely possible that these people were staring at the sun in anticipation well past the point of normal sanity, and when it affected their eyes, so when they were looking around, the sun seemed to change and or move. And believe it or not, there are actually accounts out there of people who, in some religious event, were told to stare at the sun to receive some message, and they stared at it way too long. And couple people have gone blind, but
Yeah.
but more of them have actually suffered serious vision damage.
How long can you stare at the sun? Because I never stared at it for more than a millisecond myself.
I think
I-
that's too long even.
I think that's, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that if you stare at it for like a minute, you're in trouble.
Unless you use your hand to kind of block it out a little bit.
Right, you're getting
You're
a bit of
good.
it, and you're getting that light bend thing.
Don't do that.
Listen, I
guys,
knew-
don't do that. I'm sorry. I'm making
Listen,
you
I
joke.
knew a guy when I was in school. He was arc welding, and he was arc welding without the mask.
Oh my God!
And he did it for about a
flash
minute
burn.
and a half, and he burned his eyes, and he had to lay around with, his eyes closed and cold compresses on his eyes for about a week. He never did it again. I didn't think he was the smartest guy to start with, but he never did it again. So
Incredible.
he was lucky
Yeah.
that he didn't do serious lasting damage to his eye. So, but if you think about it, that would then tell you why these people are seeing these things. Why it seems to move and grow
And dance around the sky.
And dance
Yeah.
around the skies as you look that after image is moving around. And it's that dogma of if you are a true believer enough, you will be given the vision, so that encourages these people to do it longer than they really should have.
Is dogma the right term for that?
I don't know that actually dogma might not be the right term there.
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll strike the word dogma from the record.
I just put something or another.
Yes,
Yeah.
there we go. Okay, next up in this theory section, and this is pretty simple and easy to riff on, is group speak, or that mass belief
Groupthink,
that
yeah.
group think.
People are going, "Oh my God, do you see that?" Next thing you know, everybody's like thinking, "Oh, I must be okay." Yeah, I
I
guess
must
I
not
see
be
something.
blessed enough
Yeah,
to see something, right? Oh, dang. Don't want to seem unblessed. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's spinning right at me. That's so scary.
It's the same thing as that you guys have read about or seen those experiments where people will be in the city and they'll just stare at the top of a building, and then people will crowd around them, and slowly they'll build a crowd, and then they'll just walk away, and the crowd will just
Crowd's still
naturally
staring at the
grow
building, yeah.
because they're all trying to figure out what's up
Yeah.
there.
The one I like is the one in the waiting room where they every time a noise is made, everybody stands up, and then they introduce one person, and everybody else gets called into the doctor's office, and that person is still habitually standing up and down as the noise is being made, even though they have no idea why they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Humans are crazy.
that's and he never thinks to ask why are you people standing up?
Yeah, we easily follow instruction. It turns out.
It doesn't even have to be an actual instruction. We just mirror people's behavior.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So the next two parts of this are they're less addressing the movement of the sun, and more they're talking about that reported color changing. Because if you remember, people reported the sun seemed much paler than normal, and then there's the color changes that are going on. One is that possibly what's going on is that sand from the Sahara Desert is pulled up into the atmosphere and then blown across at that time at that place, so it's blotting out the sun. And then as that as it thins out, the silica or the crystalline structure of the sand is actually creating reflections or refractions of the light, so it's acting like a prism, and that could be what these people are seeing that are causing these big bands of color, or these casts of color on not only the clouds but maybe the people in the ground around them.
What about this happens in Portland a lot, where it'll be raining, but you look up and you're like, there's not a cloud above me. What's going on? And then you look at the sun and you go, oh, look at that cool rainbow dancing around over there. What about something like that, especially if it had been raining prior?
And that's actually the next up in this section.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, we got that.
I
Dog.
do-
Yeah, dog. Not dog.
Sundogs.
But Sundog.
Yeah, well, the one thing I do want to say real quick, though, about the whole dust or sand thing is that if that was what it was, I would expect to have found more accounts of this kind of colored light
but
incident.
But the thing about it is, though, is that you would think it would happen more often, not just that one day. But let's say there was an especially big sandstorm that day, and conditions were such that
a 1 in a million.
way more than usual, got sucked up into the jet stream or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that people all over the place in Portugal, Spain, wherever, could have seen this. But everybody else was just doing their jobs, or else they were taking a nap, siesta, whatever. only in this one place where there are thousands of people standing there
Oh,
staring up
looking
in the
up.
sky.
Although I will say that it's a pretty incredible coincidence that giant sandstorm happened to happen.
Maybe that's the miracle.
Maybe it was the miracle.
Maybe that was the miracle.
It was a natural miracle.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. So let's move to what Joe was just talking about, the sundogs.
Yeah.
Which, help me out here. Do either of you know how to pronounce parhelion? I believe is the...
Sounds good
Sounds
enough.
right.
That's the kind of event that a sundog is. So those of you who don't know, sundogs are kind of a rainbow, but they happen in rings around the sun. They form rings or halos. And they only happen when there's sufficient ice crystals in the upper atmosphere to, again, just like with the sand theory, refract and reflect the light and turn it kind of into a prism effect.
And by the way, the moon does it also occasionally. I don't know if you've ever seen rings
occasionally,
around
but
the moon.
they're pretty hard to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, I've seen some pretty good ones. They stood out pretty good. But,
Yeah. But yeah, it's the same effect.
Same-
There's
yeah, same
enough
thing.
cold ice crystals up there to create that or the prism effect. And sometimes sundogs will fully circle the sun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I showed you guys that photo I took several years back where I've actually had to hold up my hand in front of my camera to block out the sun, and then you can see the full 360-degree ring.
Mm-hmm.
And sundogs typically they start out. I think they start out, they cycle from orange in the center, and then they go out towards blue
Mm-hmm.
as they get farther away from the center
yeah,
of the
refraction,
circle.
just like
Yeah.
a rainbow.
Yeah, but there are also other ones which are much cooler looking, and these have to be at a perfect degree angle apparently, but on the left and the right side you'll get these giant arcs that are super bright, and so they're kind of a warped diamond shape, and they are phenomenal. I saw a photo not but 3 weeks ago, and it was somebody up on some ski slope, and everybody at the slope had just stopped because it was just so bright and so clear, and there's this really cool sundog. So that kind of thing is the other one that people are like, listen, maybe the sun moving around wasn't real, but maybe people really did see colors, but not knowing how to explain it. That's what they say it was.
Well, maybe it was a combination of a couple things, right? I mean, I think it's safe to say it's possible that it was a sundog or something like that. Again,
Although, do sundogs typically happen at noontime?
Yeah. Sundogs are not,
Okay.
as far, I mean, the one that I saw was
Yeah.
at like around noon.
Oh,
I just, in general, maybe it was a whatever. Again, a pretty big coincidence, and lucky for those kids that something happened on that day,
yeah,
but
the crowd
whatever.
was like torn into pieces.
Yeah. But, and then a combination with a bunch of people being like, oh my God, that's so cool. That's a miracle, and staring at the sun even more. And then, it kind of helps explain why some people maybe didn't see anything because they were like, I'm not going to look at the sun. I'm going to like glance at it, and they didn't see anything. Other people saw these dancing things because they were staring at the sun and burning their eyes, and other people just saw light. And I mean, I don't know if that helps
Well,
explain all the different experiences.
That could, doing things differently, because people always do things differently from one another, even in an event like that. I mean, it's that old thing. If we could all go to, see a speaker talk, and only one of us might see the bird that lands on the side of the stage because we're looking here and there, or I'm doing something, or I'm
Right.
drinking my Coke, or whatever it is. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible that that's why there are all those different accounts. The sundog is the only thing that I can really get behind in this entire story. I think that it's an amazing, amazing coincidence that all of these people were here. As we said before, maybe that's the real miracle, is that they all happen to be in one place at the right time to see it.
Well, yeah, and just an amazing coincidence, or, I think this has some support. It's that Lucia's little friends, Jacinta and Francisco Marto, were actually little entrepreneurs that they were selling Kool-Aid at the place at the event. And
He's back to the mushroom theory.
let's say it happened to lace with mushrooms, and so I think that that's what it was.
It was ergot, ergo.
I was going to say
Ergo.
ergot.
Yeah, because everybody
that was gonna
came
be
and
my
they had to
next
eat
one.
the bread, and
Yeah.
everyone was like, "We're going to do communion
Which
before."
explains, yeah.
So here's your little pieces of bread, and everybody got like a little high, and then
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or if there were actually, that's conceivable. Even though again it's a remarkable coincidence, but it's conceivable because then that explains why some people didn't experience it, because some people would have brought their own bread from
Right.
far away, and other people bought some bread locally and ate it and got high.
Mass drugging.
Yeah, could have been something like that. And and some
I can't say no.
And some people are going to eat more bread and get a bigger dose, and so that would explain why there was a big variety in what people saw. Some people really saw a lot of wild stuff, and some people not quite so much. And again, not at all. So,
Well, I don't even know that you necessarily want to pin it on her or the other two children, but it could be that somebody was there selling something and it was, it'd gone south.
Yeah,
And,
or it
a
could
lot
be-
of things
Yeah.
go bad and have the hallucinatory effects on people.
especially back in those days, in the days before refrigeration.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say exactly what happened that day, because I know that all the research has been done on it, and there was a guy named Kevin McClure who wrote a book about this, like back in the '80s, and he saw just about all the accounts, and he said he'd never seen so many contradictory statements about what happened there. So it's really kind of hard to say exactly what happened, whether it's a miracle or not. It's hard to say even what happened.
You know what's weird?
Yeah.
It turns out I picked two stories in a row that have the same flaw in them. Because last episode that I did was the TWA story,
Oh,
which
yeah,
has
yeah.
all those
Eyewitness
conflicting
accounts.
witness
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
I mean, these are 90 years apart or 80 years apart, and look, we're having the same problem when we have
Yeah.
lots and lots of witnesses.
Human beings haven't changed that. I was going to say that not that much. They haven't changed at all.
At all.
No,
Yeah,
we
but
really haven't changed
I gotta
at
say
all.
that I gotta say that during the time all this was happening, in the months leading up to the big miracle, Lucia's mother was actually pretty skeptical herself.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think she ever got. She called it childish nonsense. Called her daughter nothing but a fake. Mm-hmm. So,
Actually, her family, once she was an adult, they kind of semi-disowned her because they were like, "Oh yeah, no, she lives in a fantasy land." Like they really went against her that whole time.
yeah, there was a friar who knew her really well. His name was what is his name? Mario de Oliveira. Gave an interview to the UK Sunday Times in 2000 and talked about her. She was still alive at the time. I think she died, as he said, in 2005. And he said that she experienced religious hallucinations, and he also said that she lives in the delirious world of infantile fantasies. Mm-hmm. And this is like, again, fairly recently, and this is somebody who knew her well. It might just be that it's just the power of suggestion. All these people came there expecting and wanting to see a miracle, and so damn it, they most of them saw something.
Well, and her the way that she clung to it in a way could be partially explained by the death of her cousins. Because if you read the transcripts of what was said between the children and Mary, they ask, is Lucia going to go to heaven? Is Jacinta going to go to heaven? And Francisco,
Francisco.
Francisco,
Yeah,
yeah.
Francisco, yeah.
And she says, yes, he will, but he's got to pray to his rosaries a lot. And then, but in that text, it's hinted at that those two children, the younger two, are going to go much sooner than she is. And so there could be some kind of, some religious form of survivor's guilt there that is made her just hang on to it so firmly for so long. And then when she has to write about it, she may have been so far into it that she didn't know what to do. And so, because her writings, people have said they borrow a lot from a lot of other religious scriptures and are kind of a repeat of that kind of information. So, I mean, I don't know what that says, but maybe she just was so far in that by the time she thought, maybe I should get out of this, she didn't really see a way to step away from it anymore and just had to, fully commit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think, and it was her deal. I mean, she couldn't really back away from it. She couldn't obviously come clean and say it was all BS. I just led everybody astray. So,
especially when she devoted her life to the church so much. Yeah, that would be really not a good career move.
Yeah. And also because it turns out, according to that same friar I just mentioned a moment ago, Mario de Oliveira, that he also said that he believed those two kids died from religious fasting and not from the flu.
Really?
Yeah, he did say that in the same interview. He said, and of course, it could be that they were so weakened by fasting that when the flu came along,
It just took them out.
They would have survived, but since they were so weak, they died. And maybe after all that after fanatically, convicting the cousins to the point where, well, they died. I can't exactly, say, never mind.
Whoops, it was all a big game.
Yeah,
Can't do that.
Change my mind. Yeah.
Devin, do you have any other final thoughts before we wrap this one up? Because, I think I've said what I feel it is.
I think she saw the Virgin Mary.
Do you?
No, I don't know. I feel like we need to say that.
Okay.
That sounds fair.
I feel like one of us has to be pro her. I mean, we can't all say we think she just made the whole thing up. We can. I mean, we could.
Yeah, I think we just did.
But I just don't think. I mean, I think there's a lot tied up in this, and I am not 100% willing to say no, she definitely didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not willing to say that she totally saw everything she said, especially with the premonitions and stuff like that. I mean, when we say
the visions.
Yeah, when I just don't. I think that probably came later, but I believe that they believe they saw something.
Okay.
The thing about it is there are people out there who are delusional. They sincerely believe what they're saying.
Well, I mean,
but there are also people who just
yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't have to necessarily be delusional. They just have to have, the word is conviction, is believe.
Faith.
And their faith. And that is what it is. And that is informing how they're seeing and operating in the world. All right, well, we're going to wrap up on that. So if you have any thoughts or theories of your own, you're welcome to share that with us. You can do that by sending us an email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. We have a website, thinkingsidewayspodcast.com, where we will have this story and some of the links, as well as a list of all prior stories. There's a separate page for those. We've got merchandise on there for shirts and mugs and all that good stuff. So you can go to the website for all of that. You can stream and download from the website, but chances are you're listening to us through some other avenue, and continue to use that avenue if you like it, because obviously we're there, and really we're just about everywhere. If you're listening to us on a place that allows comments or ratings and reviews, I know iTunes does. I don't know if Stitcher or Google Play are doing it yet. But anyway, if you can rate and review the show, please do so. We appreciate that. That helps other people find us. We are on social media. So we have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. So make sure if you want to join the group, that you answer all of the questions, and then you can get in and join all of the conversations, because that's where all of the post-episode conversations happen.
I'll give you a
hint.
In
the group, not the page.
I'll give you a hint. The answers are yes, I will, and every week.
There we go.
Perfect.
Now you've just given away the keys of the kingdom. Good job.
It's fine.
Ace it.
We are also on Twitter, Thinking Sideways, where Devin tweets all kinds of hilarious Devinness.
Yes.
We are on Reddit it's Thinking Sideways, where there's also post-episode discussions, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff that happens there. And that's really all of it. So I think we're going to wrap this one up, and we will talk to everybody next week.
Yeah. Ta-ta, I'm going to ascend from here.
I'm going to go stare at the sun.
It's a good thing it's nighttime right now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey guys, Devin from Thinking Sideways here. You remember Thinking Sideways, your favorite podcast that is no more. Anyway, we've missed you a lot. Not a whole lot to announce yet, but some really exciting things coming down the pipeline in the new year, including some really awesome content on this feed, so make sure you stay subscribed. In the meantime, I wanted to give you a little preview of an episode created by our friends over at Generation Y, Justin and Aaron. If you don't know Justin and Aaron, I don't know what you've been doing with your lives. If you don't already know about Generation Y, Justin and Aaron are good friends who have gone through hundreds of unsolved murders, conspiracy theories, and other mysteries on their weekly podcast, so the kind of content that you weirdos love. If you're not already a subscriber, you should definitely check it out. If you went to CrimeCon, you probably got to meet Justin and Aaron in person, just like you got to meet us in person. Rather than me just telling you about the show, I wanted to give you an opportunity to listen to a short preview from their episode on the Menendez brothers. I